me yet. But in YouTube, you can see me, even though it's a week later. The St. Louis Blitz and Rapid isn't over yet. There's 5 days. The first 3 days were Blitz. And the last 2 days, no, I'm sorry. The first 3 days are Rapid. The last 2 days are Blitz. And as of this stream, which I'm just starting now, although if you're at home watching on YouTube, it's over. We've had 4 days out of the 5. And MVL is in first by half a point over Aronian, and Aronian's half a point ahead of Dinglerin, I believe. So I guess one of those 3 people is going to win the tournament, most likely MVL. And Magnus is having the worst tournament of his life, and, I sit correct. You guys are like, he's the greatest ever. And then I'm like, all right, I'm going to finally put my foot down. So, yeah, the truth hurts. Man, and he already said he hopes his tournament's over already, and he's choking on his own rage. Yeah, there's 2 issues when you're better than everybody else, and then you win all the tournaments, or most of them. Then you have a bad tournament. As the tournament's going on, not only do you lose confidence, which you might think, well, Magnus didn't lose confidence, he's Magnus. That ain't how it works. And then other people gain confidence and they don't think as much of you anymore. That's the double whammy. So, once Magnus proves he's not better than everybody else, they believe it and he believes it, and the truth hurts. So, yeah, and he knows that. He's obviously lost his confidence. It's funny, some people who perform on stage, singing and dancing and plays and musicals, they have stage fright. Every time they go out, they're afraid. And you're like, what do you mean? Those are the best? Yeah, the truth hurts. So even if you're the best and you win all the time, as soon as you don't win all the time, you start to question if you're any good anymore. And so, obviously he's playing silly openings now, sillier than usual, even for Blitz. So he just wants to get out of there. Can't get out of there because he got to play in the Singfield Cup. Slow chess is different than Blitz and Rapid, so maybe he can recover into it reasonably. But, yeah. I mean, it's not surprising that Magnus isn't winning the tournament. It's surprising he's doing really badly. And if he comes in second or third, he's done that before. But he hasn't done this before in a Blitz and Rapid. And the other thing is, he's not having a bad day. He's having a bad week. Every day's bad. He hasn't had a good day yet. So now I did get a text from Magnus today, and I said, is everything okay? And he said, I didn't even have to use my AK. Today was a good day. So I was like, all right. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to look at the games from the Blitz and Rapid today, from the first 4 days. Not all of them. I'll probably look at 4 Blitz and 4 Rapid games. And not necessarily even a whole game, maybe just a portion of the game. And I have 2 in the queue. And then after we look at the first 2, I'll look at some more. Now, about yesterday. Well, first we'll read the chat. Good evening, it's Ben. Interview was sad. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so here's well, obviously I don't think he's the best player of all time, but obviously everybody has bad days and bad weeks and bad years. Okay. Thanks, Stone Firm, for the subscription. Hey, can you guys turn the air up? It's hot in here. Or open the door, move your hands up and down near me so I'm cool. And also, could somebody bring me a Perrier? And I have a list of demands. The reason I'm hot is it's hotter in this room than other rooms, which we could discuss. And also I'm drinking coffee. Okay. Now let me tell you what happened yesterday. What happened yesterday is my board got messed up and I fixed it while I was playing my 10-minute game. And I got it where it was viewable for me and you, but it was really small for me, which is fine. And then I was like, let's make it normal size and fix it because that's what a normal person does. And I couldn't do it, and so I gave up because I didn't want to do that during all 4 of my games. And then I talked to the chess.com people, and I told them what happened, and right away they were on it. The next day I showed up. Yeah, that's a big one.
That's how it was
All
in
right.
there.
All right. Ooh, it's a good bouquet though.
And then Spencer turned the air off. But hey, Chica. But we've got it back on now.
Yeah, also maybe leave the door open. It's just so hot in here.
Yeah.
And then do this. You know what I mean? Yeah, there you go. Okay, so, yeah. Okay, thank you. What was I finna say? Oh, wait, fun is not a word. Okay, so here's what happened. And then when the chess.com guy who fixes all the streams, I told him what the issue was, and we used Zoom, and he had control of my computer, and he did what I did. That didn't work. And he was like, I think he has a beard too. So he did the same thing I do. And then for like 10 to 15 minutes, he did stuff that didn't do anything. And then he had control of my computer and he couldn't click. So I had to like take control away from him and give it back to him, and then he could click after he could click. So he could click, then for no reason he couldn't, then he could again. That's a separate issue. Okay, that's a side issue. Okay. So it turned out here was the issue, and he said he's never seen it in his life. The OBS was under the impression that the chessboard was the web page as opposed to the web page, which is the web page. So as soon as it got to the edge of the board, there was no web page. Now, when you set up a source in OBS, it has the web page, and then you do this until you guys can't see all the illegal stuff I have on the other side. So when I say like it's made in 12 and you think I'm a genius, it just says made in 12 on the right side of my screen, but you can't see that. And so on my screen, I see the whole chess.com everything, and you see the chessboard. That's all you see. You see nothing else. So I see like the PGN and the moves and the name of the opening, and I see engine lines and whatever. Okay, and then stuff I can't talk about. So I see all kinds of stuff. And then that's the way it always set up, and it always works like that. However, with Ghosts, I think it was Ghosts, OBS decided the whole web page was my chessboard. So when I tried to go to the right, it said, that's it, that's the web page. You're done, son. Your job's done, get out. So the solution was quite simple, but I wouldn't have thought of it. Which is he deleted the source, so there was nothing in OBS. Then I refreshed chess.com live. Then we added the source, and then it worked. So it was a 1-minute fix, but he doesn't understand why OBS decided that the web page didn't exist anymore. It's just my chessboard. He claims he's never seen that before, where it works and then it just stops working. And then you have to get rid of the source and then add it again, which I've never done. I never had to get rid of a source and add the same source. Okay. Now, whose fault is this? Chess.com? OBS? I'm going to say OBS. And obviously, when you have a company that's worth billions and billions and billions like Amazon that owns Twitch, and they can't get it to work. Okay. For example, on my computer right now, I'm watching my stream, and it says I have 3 people watching. Usually it says I have 0. So it's actually working differently than usual. And the only way to get the correct number is to refresh. Okay, how about not making me refresh every single time to see the correct number? Okay, it ain't my fault. It's obviously Twitch can't do anything. So, if chess.com is at fault, that's reasonable. But OBS and Streamlabs and Twitch, they should have their stuff work. And it never works. Nothing ever works. It's always wrong. All right. Anyway, once we did what I just said, the whole page was there. Then I can do it. Then I made it small. Okay. So now it looks great. Okay. I guess if it happens again, then I can fix it in 1 minute. But there was no way I was going to fix it yesterday because I never would have deleted the source and then added the same source. I wouldn't have even thought of doing that. But now I think of doing that. And the guy who helped me claims he's never seen that before. Okay. X Dylan the Bear subscribe. Thank you. Yeah. All right. Now we'll get back to the chat, and then I'll talk about some other stuff. I'm friends with Magnus, obviously. I mean, the part about texting was a joke, but yeah. Magnus and I are tight, except for the tight part. blah, blah, blah. He was drunk. Hey, Ben. People. How do you describe Aronian's play? Plays really well. Oh, yeah, look at this Perrier. Damn, that's a big Perrier. That's what she said. Are you analyzing Carlson or Ding? Let's analyze both. Blah, blah, blah. Go Trying to Learn. Trying to Learn's not watching the stream today, but he has a good excuse. He's in an airplane right now. Good excuse. Your name is, in fact, also Ben. All right, now I'm going to tell you a very long, complicated story. Also, you spelled weird wrong. Honky blood, that's not how you spell weird. Keep Austin weird. Blah, blah, blah. Donate, suspicious. What's a web page? Karen did it. Best story ever. No, the next story is the best story ever. Yeah. Yeah, restarting OBS did nothing. That just had the same problem. We had to actually delete the scene and then add it again. They can hear whatever you're saying.
Tried to make fun.
Hello?
Yeah.
Whatever you're saying, they can hear you.
We were just talking about the chutney. He made fun of my choice of chutney the other day.
I did not make fun.
Well,
What do you mean of chutney? What chutney?
questioned.
Look right
We
here.
got Indian
Look
food
at
the
your
other
eyes.
day.
Yeah, Indian food. I didn't get any.
You were out of town.
You never eat Indian food because
Yeah, I know. Those were the two good excuses. I wasn't here and I wouldn't eat it.
Anyway,
I'm still mad.
Now he's hooked on the chutney. That's all.
Why? What'd she get? What'd you get?
Mango chutney.
Boy, that's too spicy for him. Slip to Jab just subscribed. Analyze on your open questions day. Will you analyze? Have you seen The Wire? Yeah, I watched the first season of The Wire, and like midway through, I didn't like it, so I stopped watching it. Okay, why did you dye your hair white? Oh. Okay. All right, so here's what happened. 2 or 3 days ago, I got an email, and they said, "Hi, Ben. My friend says you're the best." You know, like, I get all that a lot. And I live in Atlanta, and they don't, I think, maybe. And it's his birthday soon. Can I come to your chess center, and you'll sign stuff, and then it's his birthday present? And I'm like, fine. I've had that before. Okay. So then I forgot about it because it was like 2 days ago. Okay. So she shows up, and then I'm not here because I'm at home like playing with the dog. And then Karen's like, "Hey, this person's here, and they want you to sign stuff." And I was like, "Oh, yeah." All right. So I show up. And before I get there, Karen texts me like that she's from Dothan, like Karen, and that our niece is her roommate at Emory. The chances of that are 50-50. And like they're having a talk and she didn't know any of that. She didn't know Karen was from Dothan. She didn't know that the woman in question is Karen's niece and they're roommates at Emory. So that was funny. So that was the Quinky Dink. And also, in a bigger coincidence, except not even a coincidence at all, but for me it is because it's my name. The guy that she was doing all of this for, the birthday and all that, his name is also Ben. So there you go. Yeah. Let's see. The chat still makes no sense. Dothan is in Alabama. Correct. Right. Yeah. You're a genius. Yeah. I've only said Dothan, Alabama 8,000 times in the last year. He's saying Dothan's in Alabama, not Georgia.
Hey, were you talking about The Wire?
Yeah.
The Wire is so overrated.
Yeah, I watched the first 7-8 episodes, then I gave up.
I'm trying to get on here.
Yeah.
Everybody's always talking about how great it is. I watched the first season. It was pretty okay. And then I watched the second season. I actually really liked that a lot, the second season. Third season, I watched 3 episodes, and then I was like, just stopped paying attention. It was
I couldn't watch it after during the first season.
The first season,
it.
I like powered through the first season.
Yeah.
But I got to the second season, I liked it.
What-
And if you
what-
ask people who like The Wire, by the way,
Yeah.
they do not like the second season. They're like, second season's the worst.
Yeah, but
So it
but,
just shows they don't know what they're talking about.
yeah,
and I'm
but
smart.
we have shows that like Sopranos and Deadwood and Boardwalk Empire. What's wrong with
Great shows.
everybody?
Definitely all better.
All right, now I'm going to yell at all of you because of what just happened. $100 from Adam Wallace.
Yay.
Long time no see or donate. Hey, Adam. Now I'm going to yell at all of you. At my stream yesterday, I streamed 2 hours. You got that?
Yeah.
$0 in donations.
What?
Yeah.
Adam wanted me.
What's going on?
Yeah, you guys are all the worst. But I did get
That's
$7 in cheers.
That's pretty good.
Hey, what's the
At
$7? What's that?
least you didn't get any jeers.
Yeah, but then Adam's here and Spencer's here, so now they're going to argue about, he's going to say Toto's better than Rolling Stones,
Right.
and then we'll have to give him his donation back. Yeah, he says Toto's great and the Rolling Stones are overrated. Yeah.
Toto's not great, and the Rolling Stones, they're very good.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a little overrated.
Yeah. Although Spencer doesn't like Fleetwood Mac, so I don't know.
What? I never said
Also, who don't you like? You don't like, who don't you like?
Fleetwood Mac.
No, who's the one you don't like?
All right, I don't know.
Eagles.
Right.
You hate the Eagles.
I wouldn't say I hate them even.
But they're average to you.
Yeah,
you got to be
they're
kidding
like
me.
a solid C.
Yeah, you agree with them, I think, too.
Minus, perhaps.
No,
Between like an 82%.
I don't agree with I think they're B.
I mean, I'm at a 72%.
No, I like
This guy says Eagles is the worst, so you should.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
The worst.
That's what sounds.
No, I said
All right.
72%. Come on, out of 100.
He says you guys can connect with Zepp.
Yeah.
You and Adam.
Zep's the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
All right, in the chat, who's better, Eagles or Fleetwood Mac? And you think it's
Not even
obviously
close.
Fleetwood
Yeah,
Mac,
not
right?
even close,
It's not
right.
even close.
Why? You think
They're
Fleetwood Mac
amazing
too?
to me. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think
Of
Eagles are better.
Oh.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, Eagles are up 2-1. Hold on.
Eagles are up 2-1.
Tie. It's a tie.
The football team.
It's a tie. Now
thinking
Fleetwood
of
Mac's ahead.
The Philadelphia Eagles.
No, they don't. No.
Now Fleetwood Mac's crushing.
Oh my God, Fleetwood Mac definitely.
Right.
Fleetwood Mac, Eagle. It's like a tie. Fleetwood Mac. Your mother. Okay, good.
Your
Good
mother.
answer.
Where'd you get
Giants
that
are better than the Eagles.
Right, right.
I take my vote back. Fleetwood Mac.
Thank you.
I don't even know if he voted
Yeah.
before. Adam Wallace says Eagles are better. Now you can get mad at him again.
Well,
Eagles.
The guy who said Toto was the best.
Yeah, a lot of guys like Toto. John Denver.
We'll refund you.
John Denver.
John Denver.
John Denver's pretty good.
I like John Denver.
Eagles only have Hotel Cali. That's what you would say. Is that
Yeah,
you?
yeah.
That's
Oh,
you.
Hotel.
That's you.
That sounds.
Steely Dan. I like Steely
I
Dan.
like it.
I like
Yeah,
Steely
Tone Loc. Oasis.
Steely Dan's great.
Dan.
Yeah.
My dad loves John Denver so much he named his dog Denver.
I love John Denver.
Now, for somebody who sings in a
Denver.
genre that I don't like, I like John Denver. I don't like that
You
genre,
like
but
folk singing?
I don't like whatever that is, whatever he's doing.
He's just bad folk.
Jefferson Airplane. That's not
they're
even.
way
That's
better
not.
than
Okay, that
John
wasn't one of the
Denver.
questions. Steely Dan better than both? Than
Yeah,
Eagles
yeah,
and Fleetwood
yeah,
Mac?
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
Well, Karen doesn't agree with that. I didn't ask her. No, she doesn't
Steely
agree with
Dan's
that.
better than
I like Steely Dan a lot.
Yeah.
Steely Dan, Fleetwood
Eagles
Mac,
are terrible.
and Eagles.
All right, next question. Queen
Okay.
or CCR? I know your answer.
Oh my God.
Well, wait, what? Yeah, but it's going to be 50-50. Also, the Queen movie came out.
But I
The Queen
agree.
movie came out, so now you guys are in trouble.
It's not even close for me.
Right, but most people are saying Queen.
I mean,
Queen's killing
Freddie
it.
Mercury's pretty talented.
Adam Wallace, Queen by 100 miles.
Queen by 100.
Oh, yeah,
miles.
Spencer and Karen was like CCR by 100 miles.
No, that's a misrepresentation.
Yeah, it's-
50 miles?
I didn't
50?
say
50
by
miles?
100.
50?
I think that they're barely better.
Oh no, I love
CCR is barely better than Queen.
What's CCR?
Sonic closing.
Now, by the way, I'd like to point out, and this is a true
I actually
story.
say Queen's better.
This is a true story.
Queen is too theatrical.
When Naka was streaming, he said, "I love CCR." He said, Clearwater Creedence Revival. That's what he said. He said the name backwards. Yeah.
He tried his best. It is hard to say it is wrong.
Queen is not even close. Queen is 100 times better. I mean,
I love Queen, but I don't think they're as good.
what?
I
I
don't
agree.
think the two shows.
Now, let me tell you guys a funny story, and then I'll get on with the games. Earlier in the week, I was discussing who was better, Joni Mitchell or Joan Baez. Now, I don't care about the answer. The answer doesn't matter.
I care.
No, that doesn't matter. Here's what does matter. I went to the internets, and I typed in the net worth, and I couldn't believe either one. Are you guys ready for this? I hope you're sitting down. Joni Mitchell, $100 million. More than I expected. Joan Baez, $11 million. Much less than I expected. So I gave him... Okay, I think this is you. I think you're on the stream.
What?
Linda Ronstadt better than both.
Oh, I love Linda.
Yeah, but I don't know if you think she's better than both of them. Ooh. Yeah, even Karen doesn't know. That's like her favorite.
I love.
She doesn't know if her favorite singer is her favorite. That's how...
I had the tickets to see Linda in Tennessee, and I had to cancel.
You told me Linda was better than somebody or worse than somebody. I forgot who it was.
She's not worse than anybody.
Than anybody? So you like her better than Joan Baez and Joni Mitchell?
Well, Joan Baez, I'm not a huge fan of.
Right.
Joni Mitchell is just very different, so I can't really compare them.
See, Karen's the kind... Yeah. I'm typing now. I don't even know it. Yeah, Janis Joplin's better than them all. I agree. Now, Karen's not going to agree with any of that.
I
Spence, where's Spencer?
love Janice.
I want Spencer to agree with me once in his life. Spencer's going to agree with me 800%. 800.
Let me see.
Where are you, Spence?
I'm coming.
Are you ready to agree with me 800%?
I'm ready.
And also, Karen's not going to agree. Linda Ronstadt,
Okay.
Janis Joplin.
Well, I like Janis Joplin a lot more.
800%, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
right. She's like, nobody's better than Linda
But I
Ronstadt.
love
Nobody.
both of them.
Rawr.
Get Linda Ronstadt out of here.
Yeah. Kurt Cobain's better than Janis Joplin.
Agreed.
What?
Agreed.
Janis Joplin, easily. I emailed you 1 Bitcoin. What is that, like $10,000? Isn't a Bitcoin a lot?
I don't know.
All right, I don't know what a Bitcoin is, but
Isn't it
thanks.
Also nothing though.
Also, right. It's both. Yeah.
It's like Schrodinger.
Is the chess club meth free? If not, how do you have these opinions? Adam Wallace said Aretha Franklin makes them all look like amateurs.
What you want?
I mean, she's good. This guy says here. Wait, this is for you. You. He says he likes Linda Ronstadt's covers of Warren Zevon songs. Do you know about that?
That sounds really funny.
Which song?
Doesn't say. He just says
I'm
Warren
gonna guess
Zevon.
Wolf of London. That's what I'm gonna guess. The cover is.
This guy emailed me a
Go
pizza.
down
Better
on
be
the
a
list.
vegan pizza roll.
It's like, come on.
This guy says Aretha's better than Janis Joplin. Discuss.
I don't know. I would disagree, but whatever.
Yeah, I like Janis Joplin.
Wouldn't really argue
Yeah.
with them about it.
Yeah, it's hard to say for that.
The answer is fries. All right, I have to refresh. George Michael? Man, if Spencer was there, he would
Get
kill you
George
now and go to
Michael
jail.
out of
I
here.
hate him.
Who hates George Michael more between the two of you?
Probably
I
me.
didn't realize he
Right?
hated him, but
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
so I can't. We'll have to discuss it.
She's like, I hate George Michael.
I
All
hate
right,
him.
who hates Phil Collins more between the two of you?
I don't know.
Me.
I was gonna say me.
Yeah, she really hates Phil Collins.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
All right, who do you hate more, George Michael or Phil Collins?
Phil Collins.
Phil Collins.
Yeah, Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Let's see. Mark Knopfler? Yeah, he's all right. Yeah. Hello. Okay, I'm going to refresh, so don't say anything. Well, I have 3 people watching. What? Botez has 527. Botez and I are going to play a match soon. So then I guess she'll get 0 viewers after that.
You're gonna
237.
play a match?
Yeah, we're getting paid.
Dang.
She has a sponsor on her stream.
So what is it, like night odds? Or?
I think it's Rook odds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No, we
is easier.
right. Yeah.
Don't-
Careless Whisper. What? Twitchy, you're going to get banned. Damn.
Phil is great. Awesome drummer.
Of course I like rap. You'll chuckle out if I lose to Botez.
Did it.
I can lose a match to Botez?
There we
Come
go.
on.
No.
Wait, I can lose a match to Botez? It's possible?
What if? So if you die in the middle of the match, do you lose?
No.
Oh,
Then no.
Then-
Freddie Mercury's the best. No, he's all right. We had a discussion on a previous stream, Freddie Mercury or David Bowie.
Right.
And it was like 50-50.
Oh yeah, no, it's Queen. The whole group.
Oh, just Queen or David Bowie?
Or what
Yeah.
would be?
Yeah, I don't know.
I like
Aren't you like 500 Elo over Botez? Yes.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Baker Street is the better sax. What?
Yeah, you know that song, right?
No.
It's this.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Baker Street. Yeah, no, I know this song. Yeah,
Remember for Rick and Morty?
Yeah. Yeah, right. That was good. Yeah, that was good. That was a good end.
Exactly how he did it.
Yeah. You were banned for nothing? I don't believe that. Bowie for sure. Mercury all day. All right. Dinglerin has the best in all people who did not win the candidates tournament. I don't understand what that is.
Is that true?
Leonard Skinner or voluntary deafness? I think Spencer would pick deafness. I like Leonard Skinner, but Spencer hates them. Yeah. 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 All right. Let's get on to the chess. Spencer's incorrect. What about Leonard Skinner? No, he doesn't like Leonard Skinner. He's correct. He doesn't like him. Serbian Dog. Thanks, Dog. You're the best. The latent potential of a subscription. Yeah, that's good. Magnus is better than Tupac? Not today. Man, Magnus is deader than Tupac today. All right. Also, I should be on chess.com. I should be on the stream at 9. Not chess.com. What's it called? Chess TV. Can somebody check between 9 and 9:05 and tell me if I'm on Chess TV? Supposed to be. Yeah. All right, thanks for the donation, Adam. It's probably the only one I'll ever get ever. Yeah, ever. Well, let's see. I don't know what's work. Your guys' lack of donations or your music tastes. Right, let's talk about for a couple of minutes how I've been right for years and you guys all suck. Now, what did I been telling you about Magnus? What did I tell you? I say he's like number 5 or 6. Oh, he's the best. Look at me move my arms. Bye, Spence. You guys are like, oh, I can move my arms back and forth. You ever see Morphy Fisher and Kasparov get beat like the way that red-headed Norwegian got beat? The answer is fries. Magnus is the best. Boo. Yeah. Don't give me fairly meaningless. Man, there's like $1 million in prize money. Man, terrible. Yeah, he's the worst. You guys all agree now that only Kasparov, Fisher, and Morphy are good. Okay, good. Don't give me any of your like, no, I still like Magnus because I'm not very smart. I don't want to hear that. All right. Yeah, the guy you think is the greatest player who ever lived played e4, e5, queen h5, and bishop c4. That's how I play. That's what you want to know? That's what you're doing? Terrible. Ooh, Bowie Mercury puts you under pressure. Pretty funny, pretty funny. Yeah, pretty funny. Tartakower, well, that's something. Yeah. Boo. Man, Fabi. Man, Carlson's glad that Fabi and Mamadjarov are playing in this tournament. God damn. Also, they're happy Magnus is playing. Takes the pressure off of them. Eric Hansen. All right. Okay, this was the first game of the Rapid between Dinglerin and Magnus. This is before we knew Magnus was terrible. We all thought Magnus is going to win every game in both tournaments, 9-0, 9-0, 9-0, 27-0, and then all hail Magnus. Then this game happened in round 1. 9.99. Twitchy giving 9.99, avoiding a ban. Yeah. Okay. So here, Magnus played a very bad move, but I don't blame him because one of the best moves is impossible to find. Now, White just played rook d3 because I said so. He wants to play rook g3 and give mate. Now, that might look like a brute force kind of caveman mate, but you didn't see Carlson Dominguez, where he played for Scholar's mate. So, no. All right. So, the engine says queen f8 is one of the best moves, defending the g7 pawn. Also, rook d5 is good. Bishop d5 is good. Okay. Magnus played a terrible move. Queen e7. Okay. And in real life and in chess, don't walk into a fork. Terrible. Okay. So the fork, obviously, and the passed pawn, it's over. So this looks like a game that Magnus would have white and get a passed pawn and win. But Magnus isn't playing like himself this turn. He's playing like me. So his score's not very good. Okay, so his queen's hanging and his rook's hanging. So he took. Now we get a little Zwischenzug. Little Zwischenzug. Yeah, and then this pawn's ridiculously strong and white's just winning. So that was really, really bad chess understanding for Magnus, which is weird. Because, I mean, that pawn, man, and then some. Okay, now normally if Magnus is worse, which is pretty rare, he defends pretty well. And this is the problem with being the world champion and the highest rated player for so many years, is you're not used to being worse. Now, I'm always worse, so I got no problem. Okay, so Magnus's defense isn't very good. The engine wants him to play queen c5, makes sense. He retreated, which I can't complain about. Okay, bishop threatening checkmate. Now, Magnus is still the world champion, so he never plays f6. No, you can't do that. That's f6. Terrible. Right, Archer? Archer says yes. 9.99. R.A. Kelly, you left yesterday before I could donate. Correct. My stream stopped working. Thanks for the donation. Now you can donate later and make up for yesterday. Okay. So Magnus played the computer move, queen g5. And then we have another Sishunsuk, c7. God damn. Okay, so the rook has to move. Rook d5, no good. The engine says boo, and the engine can't even talk. Okay, the best move is rook c8 blockading with the very passive rook. Magnus doesn't play passive like that. He plays active. That's the way the GMs do it. Okay, now white doesn't want to trade queens because this pawn's pretty well blockaded. Black has a passed pawn. Black's king isn't as safe as white's king. White's got all these pieces that could potentially attack his king, and white's king is... So he played queen e4 check. That's the best move. And then Magnus insisted on trading queens. Queen g6. And Ding said, Ish don't think so. Now this is a fantastic move from Ding. Fantastic. Queen b4. Why is it fantastic? Well, if the rook takes the bishop so that we leave the back rank and try to play mate, he stops that mate. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, there's going to be very soon a threat of queen takes knight and queen. There's not that threat yet because of back rank, but once I get luffed, this is in the offing. So he has to play knight c8, but he played queen d3, another blunder. Terrible. Knight c8 was forced, well, they still lost. Okay, now the engine plays the explosive c4. Excellent move. Okay, but Ding plays the practical move, h3, making sure he never gets mated, because the game's over. Again, Magnus tries to trade queens, queen e4 check, and black's king is too exposed. So now he's going to lose on the king side, and he's losing on the queen side. Center's not looking too good either. Okay, now as you all know, except you don't know anything because you guys forget everything I tell you, I always say queen and bishop is better than queen and knight, even though the books you read and your teachers who aren't very good at chess told you queen and knight is better. Alexander Botez is rating with a party of 484, very palindromic, right? Yeah. Archer agrees. That's the biggest rate I've ever had. And one time we had 100 cops come in here and put me in handcuffs, and that was still not as big a raid. The 484, god damn, that's a big raid. And Alexander's probably here, and I was telling them about our upcoming big match. It'll be the biggest, okay? And I would never say anything detrimental about any other chess player. You know me. And Spencer said knight odds, and I said no, rook odds. Then he said that's easier. Okay, so Alexander, you have to spot me a rook. Spencer and I agreed. All right. Now, it's okay if our match gets out of hand, then Archer will take over. And if Archer beats her even worse than I do, then we'll have Karen take over. And then, if worse comes to worse, we can get Holden or Glory B here. One of them. Yeah.
No, she would crush me.
What? Yeah, you will need it. Well, that's right. I want another rook. Yeah. See, what Alexander doesn't understand, which she will now, I was trash talking before her grandfather was born. Bam. Right? See, I got her good. Okay, and if Karen's too good for Alexandra, we'll get somebody her own strength, Magnus. Then we'll get Magnus in here as the guy, yeah. And then she won't have any trouble with Magnus, that's for sure. Man, Ben's chat versus Botez, is it the same chat? She rated me. It's the same people. Audience is too young to remember it. Always repeat, Alexander, always repeat. Do you have any details about our match you can share in the chat? And that way I would know them too. Also, we should definitely play the match on my birthday, September 6th. That's your best chance of winning because I'll be older then. Right? Yeah. Then when she blunders her queen, the Botez Gambit, it'll be a birthday present. You're still waiting for chess.com to see if we can do the homepage. All right. Man, if we wait for chess.com, I'll be 100 before we play our match. God damn. Output Coupler giving a sub to Alexandra Botez. All right. September 6th, 1831, close. It was actually 1837, the year that Michigan became a state. Right, you knew that, right, Karen? Mm-hmm. Right. Also, what year did Detroit become a city? The answer, 1701. And the founder of Detroit was Antoine de la Mothe Cadillac. You can't make that stuff up. I mean, I could have made it up, but I didn't. Will there be trash talking? I mean, there should be. Yeah, Alexander says there's trash talking. Yeah. Mr. Detroit. Correct. Oh man, she's already trash talking. Repeating my old stuff. What about my new stuff? Also, what's old and forgotten is once new again. Okay, back to the Magnus bashing. All right, so here Magnus was afraid of this pawn and afraid of getting mated, so he did a 2-for-1. He defended c8 and he defended g7. He played queen d7. Reasonable. Now, Dingler In is a big fan of my stream. All he does is watch my stream. In fact, he almost didn't play in this tournament because he knew he would miss one of my streams. So that's how dedicated he is to chess. And so he knows always retreat. So Ding played bishop d4. Okay, and that leaves the way for the rook and the queen and the bishop. Maybe I'll take that knight and make a queen. Very good move. Okay, knight c8, making sure the pawn never queens, but also making sure the knight is no good. Queen g3, putting pressure on g7. And this looks like Magnus is white. White's putting the pressure on, and black is just standing there like a doofus. Now, if it was white's move, white could probably play rook takes e6. Then if queen takes e6, queen g7 mate with advantage. Okay, so Magnus didn't like that variation, so he played rook d6, defending his pawn. Always retreat. Notice, Magnus goes to the Ben Feingold school of chess. Might explain why he's losing all of his games. He's retreating every move. Queen d7, knight c8, rook d6. Always retreat. Okay, conversely, Dingler In goes to the Ginger GM school of chess. So what move did white play based on that?
H4.
H4. Bam. Okay, he's going to play h5, queen g6 check, GG. As in the famous game G versus G. Now the problem with taking this pawn, which a lot of you want to do, is rook takes e6 again. And then black gets checkmated shortly thereafter. So he played rook c6, rounding up the pawn, or so he thought. h5, uh-oh, here we come again. Walking down the street, we get the funniest looks from every world champion we beat. Right, Archer? Yeah. Okay, Archer agrees. Now you can't allow queen g6 check. The engine retreats further, but Magnus plays queen f7. Ding defends his pawn. And now it's pandemonium. I haven't seen domination like this since... Oh, wait, I can't say that because Archer's in the room. Oh, well. Let's see, back to the chat. Blah, blah, blah. Why is rook takes e6 a threat? Because after rook takes d4, I play the Zwischenzug queen g6 check and rook e8 check. And then, as we say in the business, you get beat like Botez. That's, because it's alliterative. Yeah. Okay. So, knight b6. And now, this is good. This is good. This is good. As we say in India, this rook is doing Vishwa nothing. Okay. So, should he get the rook down here? Should he get the rook down here? The answer is fries. Okay, he played rook a1. All moves win. Doesn't matter. And then Magnus finally got active. Knight c4. Too late. Okay. Now, he was hoping that white would queen, and then he would perpetual on the bubble up. So the idea behind queen is if you take it, I play mate. So it looks like queen wins, but then Magnus has perpetual. Okay, etc., mainly etc. All right, so Ding didn't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. Instead, as Maurice Ashley so aptly put it, he sacrificed his queen. All right. And my engine, which is the chess.com engine, says after queen takes g7 check, white is plus 62. Pretty interesting. Okay, and then you promote with check. Now the idea isn't to take the rook because once again there's these perpetual checks. The idea is to checkmate the king because we got a queen and a rook against the king. And after here, white played a very accurate move, queen d8 check. The idea is if king e5, queen d4 is mate. That gives white the advantage. Also, if king g6, queen check with the skewer, then everything wins, but I would play rook g7 check, but it doesn't matter. Okay, and then everything's mate or wins. There's a quicker mate, it says, with queen g8, which I didn't see, and then mate. I was too busy winning the queen. All right, after queen d8, Magnus resigned. And actually, that seemed like Magnus was white. White got a pass pawn in the 7th rank, played on both sides, and black couldn't do anything. So an ominous start for the world champion. However, in rounds 2 and 3, Magnus won, and everybody thought everything was fine until he started playing again. All right, so that was the first game of the first round of the Rapid. Now we're going to go ahead in time, okay, just like in Avengers Endgame or something, okay? And we're going to look at the game that MVL beat Rapport, the game of the tournament. Right, Archer? Yeah. Archer says yes. Now, I haven't analyzed the game, but I saw what they were talking about. Okay, they were talking about something. Okay, now, who are the two most exciting players in general in the tournament? I mean, it's either going to be MVL and Rapport, or you might throw Mamedyarov in there. Normally, when you play really exciting and you're playing people who are 2,800, then you lose a lot. But somehow, Rapport and MVL play exciting and don't lose a lot. Now, this particular tournament, I can't say the same for Mamedyarov. Now, the last Grand Prix tournament, or whatever it was called, I think it was the Grand Prix. It wasn't this, it was the FIDE Grand Prix. Mamedyarov won. So what do I know? So when Mamedyarov plays like a lunatic, sometimes he beats all the 2,800s, and sometimes he loses to me with white. Exactly. Okay, yeah, Richard and I have a good rapport. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so let's get on to the game. 580 viewers, 579 of them are from Botez's stream, and the other one is Karen. Yay. All right. Oh, no, wait, I'm wrong. It's from Archer. Karen was actually watching Botez's stream. Damn. All right, well. Okay, so MVL's white, and they play a very exciting French defense. Okay, they play the advanced variation. And in this position, white plays a move that I don't like for either side. I don't like this line. I don't like even looking at it. It blocks the whole game up, and I'm totally baffled. Okay, when I'm white in this position, I play bishop d3. Blundering a pawn, I understand. But MVL played a3, and this lets black play c4, which is explosive. Okay, and this is the most boring line ever. They move around and around and around, and I don't understand what's going on. But then it got exciting, and the mood all changed. So, all right, I don't like to have either side of this position. So when I'm black in this position, I don't play c4. c4 is the best move, but I don't play it. Okay, and then black blocks up the queen side, so white plays on the king side, and black figures his king is safe on the queen side because it's totally blocked. Okay, and then nothing ever happens. It's just boring, and I'm confused. Okay, so nothing happens. No pieces are ever traded, ever. Nothing ever happens. Okay, the game never ends. Oh, sorry, I was asleep there for a second. Okay, so now we're on move 23. It's white's 23rd move, and nobody's traded anything. And white's pushing on the king side with his king there, and black's pushing on the queen side with his king there, confusing the audience. Okay, now they opened it up on both sides of the board. Traded on g6, weakening the e6 pawn, and then he attacked it. And then black played the very unusual move, queen h7, which the engine says is correct. I thought it would be incorrect. Okay, now the idea is crazy. I'm too old for this idea. Now let me show you the idea. Oh, after queen e6, the obvious move, black wants to play bishop d7 with a skewer. But bishop d7 is illegal, so we play the clearance sacrifice, knight takes d4. Okay, and then after c takes d4, then we play bishop d7. The Zwischenzug queen d6 check doesn't win for white because of bishop c7. Okay, and the engine says black is better, although I'm totally baffled. But that was the point of queen h7, was queen takes e6 may not be the best move. Okay, now here, MVL played a crazy move. He wants to open up black's king, and black stopped b3, so he played b3 anyway. Now, the obvious idea is if you take with the bishop, all that stuff I just showed you, bishop d7, that's not going to happen because the bishop can't go to d7 anymore. Now, the engine does play bishop takes b3. It's the engine move. But you can see why he didn't, because he can't play bishop d7 in that line. So he took with the pawn. Okay, now everything that I said that would happen did happen. And the difference is white already played b3, so he can get an attack on the king. And now he shocked the world by playing an unsound sacrifice instead of just playing the boring queen check, queen b4. And then the engine says it's equal. He sacrificed his queen. Don't do this at home unless you're playing me. Then you can do it. Okay? And the engine says white doesn't have enough compensation, but that's if two computers are playing. If humans are playing, this pawn is hanging, this bishop's pretty good, he's going to double up on the bubble up, he's got this massive pawn chain here, these pieces are no good. But if two engines are playing, the engine says I'm up a queen. I defend for 5 moves and I win. This is a rapid game. Both players have no time on the clock, and it's hard to play black. White just goes forward like this, and black's like, I don't know. What do I do? And even the engine doesn't know what to do. The engine says lots of moves are good. Rapport plays the number 1 move, knight b6, blocking the b file. And the engine says black's winning, and that's why this game is such a nice game, because white won and didn't make it look too hard, even though the engine likes black. And the players don't care what the engine says. They want a position that's easier to play with more time. Okay, and he played a4, trying to open up the black king. Okay, reasonable. And knight takes a4 is a good move. Knight takes d5 is a good move. And g5 is a good move. All these moves are good. f5 is a good move. g4 is a good move. But these are all the engine moves. The players play perfect. Knight b6 is the engine move. Yeah. Okay, he played knight e3, which is not the engine move. Not considered very good. And now, again, white's down a queen, and the game is very messy and confusing. But of course, the engine says I'm up a queen. Okay, but the engine's not in time trouble, and humans don't see a million moves a second, so the position is just crazy. Okay, h5 is reasonable. Black's trying to checkmate white. f6 is reasonable. Tic-tac-toe. h4 is very reasonable. And now the attack's coming on the h file, so MVL plays king g1, which is actually the engine move. It's pretty funny. This gives the h1 square for the bishop and gets off this file. Bishop c7's okay. Rook c1's okay. These are queen d7's okay. All these moves are fine. Okay, rook d1 is a little passive, but all right. So this is pretty good compensation. Okay, so for the first time since MVL sacrificed his queen, Rapport made a move the engine doesn't like. Okay, one of the engine moves is to push the a pawn, giving him luft and getting a passed pawn going. The other one is rook h6, I assume to double up on the bubble up. And rook g6 is another engine move. Obviously, we could double the same way. Instead, he broke the tension. H takes g3. The engine doesn't like that. And then he played super aggressive. He's like, I'm up a queen. I can give some material away and still win. The engine does not agree. Plays rook h3. So it's funny, the bad moves sort of come consecutively. And Rapport was right. After bishop takes g takes, black has a nice initiative. But MVL just played knight f1, defending his bishop. And now this is rock solid. Black can't crash through there, but white's going to crash through on the c file, the b file, and his 3 connected passed pawns. So white's ready to crash through, and black's hg rook h3 didn't get it done. So now, even though black is up a queen, the engine says it's equal. When you're up a queen and the engine says it's equal, that means you're going to lose. Okay? When you're up a queen, you should be up a lot. Right, Karen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm gonna come back in a few minutes.
Okay. Karen says she'll be back. Might bring Schwarzenegger with her. Okay, so he played rook h5, which is not a good move because the rook is nothing. You got nothing. The rook on h5 does nothing, just losing a tempo. Rook c3, the best move. Now MVL wants to do some stuff over here. He's got some stuff and some junk. Yeah, rook h5 didn't cut it. Rook c8, probably the best move. Rook c1, I got 2 rooks, 1 for each of you. Yeah, this attack is too strong now. And now black's losing, and he didn't put up a good defense. The engine actually plays knight a8, defending the bishop. That's pretty funny. And then after d5, it says white's winning. But he played queen takes d4, which loses very quickly, and MVL found the easily winning move, which I've already explained. Rook takes c7, rook takes c7, and e6. And yeah, the pawns are queening, the rook is going to be captured, and white's 4 pieces easily defend his king. And the engine actually says, even though MVL's down a queen, he's +8, because he's got everything going on. Touch, timing, everything. Once again, knight a8 is the best move, but after e7, white's going to win. White's got all these pawns, knight d5's coming, this is pinned, etc. Okay, he played rook c5, trading rooks. And then e7, man, the truth hurts. Man, you got 2 pawns over here. Now, there's just no defense to e8. Okay, he played queen h5, the best move, to stop both pawns. Now, remember, it's not knight f5. It's knight f5. And you can't take the knight because I queen. Okay, and now the knight's coming in here. Now, the engine says this move is a blunder, knight f5. It says that's terrible. He should have played knight d5. And the reason is, after the trade, now these pawns are unstoppable. And now white's winning. But he blundered because they were in terrible time trouble, and one good blunder deserves another. Okay, the only move to not lose is knight d7 with the idea of knight takes f6. So knight f5 was the only bad move MVL played after the queen sack, but since it's knight f5, he won anyway. He knows what he's doing. And now the blunder came, knight c8, obviously with seconds on his clock. And surprisingly, white made the best move here, knight 1 to e3, defending his knight and getting his other knight ready for d5. Man, the truth hurts. And here comes knight d5, bishop takes c7 check, and he resigned. Obviously, if king a8, I queen. And then I'm up 2 pieces. So a fantastic rapid game, which wasn't necessarily sound, but that's not what we're going for here. We're going for complexity, winning a lot of games, making your opponent defend with no time on the clock, and that's something MVL is good at. And if you want to see high-level chess where all the moves are engine moves, you got to give the players 2, 3, 4 hours. Then the game takes 6 hours. Then you guys complain the game takes too long. When the game takes too long, you'll notice it's a draw fest, such as Magnus versus Fabiano in the World Championship match, such as all of the Magnus matches with Anand, such as Magnus versus Karyakin. We got 70, 80, 90, 100% draw rate. And rapid, we don't have that because the players don't have time to play well, so they play swashbuckling chess, and that's not Magnus's forte. That's more of a forte of MVL, Rapport, and usually Mamedyarov, but not this time. Man, they're talking about what bad form Magnus is in. What about Mamedyarov? Okay, and also let's not forget Fabi. Fabi gets a bad rapid and Blitz, and so when he loses all of his Blitz games, we're like, eh. But today was a really bad day for Fabi. Fabi's rated number 2 in the world in slow chess, and today he got 6 losses and 3 draws. So if you're a student out there, remember, If you want to be the number 2 player in the world, start losing. Okay? And you guys are like, I wish I was Fabi. I wish I was Magnus. I'd be 2,800 and rich. And then you play a tournament, everybody beats you. Okay? When you play in a tournament, you choose the tournament you play in. You can play Rufus and Doofus, and then you can win all of your games. When you're Magnus and Fabi, you play in the best tournaments against the best players with the best prize money, and occasionally you get the beat down. Occasionally. Okay? And if Magnus and Fabi played you guys or me, it would be different. But when they play each other every tournament, sometimes you have a bad tournament. And this kind of game is why people like Rapid. It's not the highest level, but it's very interesting, and there's a lot of good moves. Lots of good moves are played. Now, if the engine analyzes it, it's a little iffy. But the difference between the Super GM mistakes and your mistakes is in your games, nothing's happening, and you move your rook somewhere and the guy takes it. In these games, there's a lot of things happening. There's 12 moves that look reasonable, and you got 30 seconds on your clock. So sometimes the guy promotes all of his pawns and queens and sacks his queen. And that's very exciting for all of us. All right. So there you go. The truth hurts. All right. In the chat, you're like, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Roar. I'm trying to yell as loud as I can, but I can't keep up with Maurice. Oh, well. All right. Now we're going to go and look at some other games. Let's see. Fabiano beat Magnus. We can't just beat Magnus every game. We got to find some other game. Magnus lost all of his games, so I can't, Let's see. MVL beat Karyakin. That sounds pretty boring. That was pretty boring. You beat Mamajarov. That's boring. Oh, yeah, let's look at the blunder that Magnus made against Aronian, even though I said we're going to stop beating up on Carlson, and then I beat up on him the next game. Yeah. And the reason is it was a very, very, very tricky blunder. I don't blame him. This is the kind of blunder that we make all the time. Magnus is making a lot more blunders than usual, so very confusing. Okay, Magnus has white, and he basically outplayed Aronian, got a winning position, then made a horrible tactical blunder. Usually, when Carlson is outplaying you and has a winning strategical advantage, he puts his foot on your throat and you resign. Like, you can't move, and you're like, no. But here, Magnus is like, I'm winning immediately, and he's like, oh, I missed that. That happens to all of us. Doesn't happen to Magnus so often. Obviously, in Rapid and Bullet and Blitz, it's going to happen more. That's what happens. And usually with Magnus, it doesn't happen more. That's why it's so impressive. And many GMs have told me, and I've read, when you look at a super GM's overall level of play, and then you make them play faster and faster and faster and faster, so they don't play as good. The person whose level goes down the least is Magnus. Magnus plays about the same in Rapid as in slow chess. Other grandmasters just play much worse because it's much faster. This tournament, that's not happening. Magnus has no level this tournament. He's just playing like everybody else. He's playing like Rufus and Doofus. He wins a nice game. He loses a horrible game. He wins a reasonable game. He loses a reasonable game. He's not showing he's better than anybody else. So it's not a Magnus-like a score. He's having a bad tournament. Doesn't have bad tournaments too often. But in Norway about 5 years ago, he had a really bad tournament. It was a slow tournament. That's the one where he started off losing to Topolov, not knowing what the time control was. Then he lost to Hammer. God damn. Lost to Hammer. Okay. So in this game, they played a London, which Magnus likes to do with white. And it's pretty boring. Pretty boring. Okay, pretty boring. And then he made a move I don't like. The engine says it's okay, but I would never play this move. Aronian took the bishop. I don't like opening the h-file for my opponent, so I don't like that. Okay, now Magnus played a little crazier lately than he used to. I mean, he doesn't want to draw all of his games. I understand. So he played rook h4. Now, I don't like this move, but it worked out really well. Obviously, he's defending the 4 square, making knight e4 always impossible. And he wants to play g4 without hanging his pawn, and then g5. And he'll castle queenside or play king e2, then double up on the bubble up. All right, so reasonable, idea. Okay. c5, knight e5, rook c8. These moves are all good. f4. All right. Computer says it's about equal. a6 is okay. a4 is a little strange to me since he played f4 and rook h4. But, all right. cd is okay. ed is okay. And now Aronian plays, I think, quite badly. That's what I think. I think he helps his opponent. Okay. And here the engine says b5, playing on the side of the board that he's playing on, and white's playing on the king side. Try to distract white by sacking a pawn there. Instead, he took on e5, which I don't like. And then he played knight d7, and now white has this monster attack. So eventually white's just going to win. White's going to play g4, g5. White's going to play this rook to h1. And, white just has this monster attack. Okay? And now, this is the engine move, but it just shows you how bad black's position is. Never play f6. And he played f6. Okay? And unfortunately for Magnus, he thought it was an easier win than it actually was. That's not usually a fault of his. And actually, queen e2 might be the best move. He took on f6, which is okay. That's okay. Probably queen takes is the last move that I would play, but that's what he played. Okay, and this egged Magnus onto a losing variation. It wouldn't happen to me because I'm a vegan, so I don't get egged. Okay, but Magnus, eats eggs. So rook f4, which is fine, and now he blundered. And Kasparov was pretty mad today when he was being interviewed by Yastergen and Maurice, and he was like, well, Magnus just strategically crushing Aronian that makes a one-move blunder, and he's like, this game and that game and the other game, rawr. When I played, we didn't blunder in my day, and if we did, nobody said anything because we're so good, and these guys are blundering. There's too many games, or whatever. So in this position, the engine plays queen e2, or rook takes f8, or long castle, and says white's doing great. White's got this action. White's got his rook here. The e6 pawn is weak. This bishop's no good. This knight can't go anywhere. And the engine says +1, plus 1.5. But Magnus thought he's winning immediately, which is very insulting to Aronian. If I'm playing Aronian and I think like he hung mate, I would be like, whoa, Aronian used to be second in the world. Maybe he didn't hang mate. Normally, if you think Aronian hung checkmate, you're wrong. Normally. And so you give it a second look. But Magnus was like, rawr, I'm Magnus, rawr. And he just lost the game immediately, which is hard to do with white here. He played the brute force method, missing a check. If you haven't seen this game, you're going to see it now. Bishop h7 check. Only legal move is here. And still white's doing fine. White just has to not do what he does. He just has to keep playing chess. And bishop h7 doesn't make a lot of sense. But having said A, knight h4, and this looks like white's completely winning. Knight g6 is unstoppable, and it's mate and wins the queen. It does both. So Magnus probably should have said, why is Aronian losing his queen and hanging mate? And been suspicious. Right? And it turns out, if Aronian doesn't play the right moves, Magnus is completely winning. It's over. So I don't know what Magnus missed. I'm not sure. So rook takes f4. Obviously, you can't take back because your knight's hanging with check. So knight check. Only legal move. Knight takes queen check. The queen attacks the king. The knight attacks the rook. Unfortunately, just like on television, when they check you, you check them. And now black's actually winning because the knight is trapped. And I'm not sure what he missed. If he missed rook e4 check, or he saw rook e4 check and thought he was still winning, not realizing his knight's trapped. So if the king moves away, I play rook e8, I take your knight, and I have a rook bishop knight for a queen, and white's pawn structure is no good on the king side. So black just wins. So here the engine says black is anywhere between 1.8 and plus 2.5, depending on what engine you have. And white can't do anything. It's not like white can sack a piece or get a passed pawn. White just has nothing going on. So normally, this is the kind of thing weak players do. It goes check, 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 capture, 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 check, check, check. And they're like, oh my God. And the super GMs, they calculate checks and captures, and they're like, this wins, this loses, this wins, this loses. Then they play appropriately. Here, it was all check, check, capture every move, and he just lost. So very strange. Now, if you guys did it, very normal. But for Magnus to just go into a forcing variation, then resigning, is weird. That's something a weaker player does, not him. Okay, so he played the best move. This is the engine line. But it's bishop knight for a rook. So bishop and knight beats a rook. What are you going to do? Truth hurts. And there's just nothing going on. Bishop and knight for a rook. Yeah. After knight b7, he resigned because here comes knight here check, and then bishop b3, and horrible. Doubled pawns. And the engine says +5 for black. Or -5 if you're a computer nerd. So, I mean, a horrible blunder from Magnus, this bishop h7, knight h4. And what's funny was, Aronian had 3.5 out of 4, and then he has black against Magnus, and now everybody thinks, okay, now Magnus will beat Aronian, he'll go on a tear, and he'll be tied for first when the rapid is over. But instead he just kept losing. Man, truth hurts. Now Magnus knows how I feel. All right, we have 608 viewers to do. The more you donate, the more money I have. Yeah. Too much chat to read, so I'll ignore the chat. Yeah. 941. 9! Yeah. I mean, it's a difficult blunder, but those guys blunder a lot less than we do. So, very suspicious. All right, that game's too long. That game's too boring. That game's too boring. Man, the Americans aren't doing well. Dominguez and Caruana, God damn, getting their ass kicked. Especially Fabiano. Jesus. Man, Fabiano's getting crushed. Karyaka Mamajarov, too boring. What game is this? Rapport Caruana. Caruana won. So only gave me one the whole tournament. That was a draw. I'm just looking through every game. MVLB Dingler in. That's unusual. Oh, yeah, I remember seeing that game in the end game. That's pretty interesting. Although that could actually be the Blitz game. That's not the game I'm thinking of. No, that's not the game I'm thinking of. These aren't the droids you're looking for. Yeah. Fabiano got crushed by Levon. Yeah. Man. Magnus beat MVL. That was a pretty good game. But we've looked at too many Magnus games. Rapport won. Draw. Not too many draws. Not too many. Yu Young Yi beat Dominguez. What else is new? These are all from the Rapid and not the Blitz. Karyakin beat Carlson. That was like my game with Nizhnik, except Karyakin won instead of messing up a winning position. Sort of similar. Rapport beat Aronian in 1,000 moves. Yu Young Yi said, you the man. MVL beat Dominguez, obviously, and frankly. Then they drew, and then MVL won with black against... Actually, I like that game. That was a nice game. Yeah, he really dominated at the end there. But we'll skip it anyway. So many games to look at, so little time. Dominguez beat Karyaka, doesn't even make any sense. Then there was a draw. Then there was another draw. No draws. Then we had a 321-cent donation from MC McJurgle. Thank you, sir. Magnus beat MVL. How's that even possible? Yeah, when Rapport agreed to a draw with Levon, you could play on hoping to win on time, but he thought the position was just equal. And there is a delay, so Levon's not going to lose on time. But yeah, most people wouldn't give him a draw there. I agree. That's not something most people would do, yeah, especially Nakamura. He would have won. That's the way to do it. No, I agree. The giving a draw there was a bit odd. Yeah. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, Levon had an equal position against Rapport, and Levon had like 3 seconds, and Rapport had like 3 minutes, and they just repeated and drew. So it's an unusual way of doing it. Normally you would just win on time. Now there's a delay, so he doesn't necessarily lose on time, but yeah. Okay, I want to look at this game. Sorry for the Carlson bashing. The reason is I was watching the game live on the St. Louis channel. This game was played today. And Yasser was like, this is great for Black. This is an awesome opening for Black. I like Black. What the hell is White doing? What an idiot. And then, Black lost. So, all right. And then he said it was the worst game Magnus has ever played. Man, Sarah one's tough. God damn. Yeah. So after D4, Magnus played E6, offering a French defense. And Karyakin's like, all right. And Yasser really likes this line for Black. He said, there's no way you can ever lose this endgame. Okay. And then Jennifer was like, why do you like this line for Black? And he said, because White's only plan is F5 or C4. Black easily prevents that, but Black plays G5 and destroys this. So it's better to have Black. All right. Now, there's more funny stuff going on. In this position, everybody plays knight B5 and then eventually puts their knight on D4. Now, you remember what Yasser said. And Karyakin played a move Yasser wasn't familiar with and thought it was stupid. Played H4. Well, that stops Yasser's G5. But the problem is we can't get our knight to D4 anymore because of bishop D7. Now, if you play knight B5, I take it. And then there's no knight going to sit on D4. So now he played H5. And Yasser was like, what's White doing? This White's not putting his knight on D4. Now Yasser correctly pointed out, if you play knight E2 to D4, bishop B5 comes. And then if knight D4, we trade our bad bishop for your good bishop. So Karyakin played bishop D3. He's going to play knight E2 to D4. Now to me, it seems like Karyakin was listening to Yasser. He was like, I want to play F5, I want to play knight D4, and I want to stop G5. Well, he did all of that. And Yasser was like, this is great for Black. I wish I had Black. Magnus is Black. Black's going to win. I love Black, etc. Okay, orange is the new black. Okay, so he played A6, and Yasser loved that move. And the reason is, if you play knight E2 to D4, before you play knight D4, I play bishop B5 again and trade my bad bishop. So he loved that move. Okay, rook H3, makes sense. Getting his rook active. Knight A4, he thought that was fine. And now Yasser was furious. He had great engines and furious anger. And I'm looking at the engine, and the engine plays Magnus's move. Yasser was sure that Magnus would play bishop B5 now that he has the chance, because there's no knight on C3, and the knight hasn't gone to D4 yet. Well, what's funny is the engine doesn't even give bishop B5 as a move. It says that's terrible. The problem is we just take it, and then we can try to win this pawn later, since we have rook B3 and knight D4, and we can switch from doing this. As Public Enemy would say, most of them would rather switch than fight. Man, nobody's going to get that. God damn. Even Public Enemy wouldn't get it. They'd be like, what? That's in our song? Okay. Yeah, fight the power. So, yeah, the engine's like rook here, and double up on the bubble up, and triple up, and Black's lost. So the engine doesn't like that for concrete reasons. Okay, so Magnus played knight C5. Now I have to let you know the whole game so far, the engine's like, yay, White's doing great. And Yasser's like, Black's doing great. Okay, so he just likes the French for Black. He likes these positions. He doesn't think White has any advantage. The engine doesn't agree. The engine's like, White's doing great. Knight D4, guys, knight to D4. He stopped the H5, the G5. Great. Okay, rook here, rook here. Now, here's the problem Black has. If he plays rook G8 defending his pawn, then bishop H7, and then I take on G7. But Magnus correctly evaluated you can still do that. And the reason is, after bishop H7, if you take, then king F8, and these pieces are all trapped. So White's lost. Of course, White could take a draw if he wants, but doesn't want to draw. And instead, he plays a very interesting move, not engine recommended. King D2. Not a bad move, but he's getting off of this. He's walking his king up the board. He's doing the walk of life. And black doesn't have a lot of counterplay. Okay? So I don't really agree with Yasser's evaluation of this game that black was just doing great. Great opening, great middle game. What the heck is Karyakin doing? And then Magnus played a terrible game and lost. That's not what happened. Now here, Magnus made a bad move, and they were like, wow, this is the greatest move ever. Now, obviously, if you're analyzing a Blitz game live without an engine, you know, they're not as good as the players, so you got to have Maurice's engine and, you know, hope that you're right. So here, he played bishop b5. Very interesting tactical move. It doesn't work, but it's interesting. The idea is I want to play knight e4 check, so this isn't really hanging, if you know what I mean. He's trying to punish him for playing king d2. But Karyakin ignored that and played f5. So I was thinking, when I was watching the game live, everything Yasser said, black wants to play g5, white wants to play f5. I said, well, black's never going to play g5, and white did play f5. But Yasser still liked black. I just didn't know why. Like, everybody did everything Yasser said. White got his stuff in and black didn't. So why shouldn't white be better? White's knight is on d4. It's a pretty good knight. Okay, so he played bishop d7. They didn't like that move. Bishop back. Okay. Took, bishop takes. This is all good. King e3, reasonable. The engine still says white's better. White's obviously better. I'm on this pawn here defending it. Ugh, horrible. And this knight's, a pretty good knight. Okay, knight d7, attacking the e-pawn. Good, good. And now, if you remember that stuff I was showing you, you obviously don't. Remember when I said bishop here, and rook here, and king here attacks the rook? That doesn't work for black anymore. Luckily, black doesn't need it, but it doesn't work. The reason it doesn't work is if you play king f8, this move wins. Okay, and then if you take the knight. But that's okay. Magnus didn't need that. Magnus took on e5. Okay, reasonable. And the engine says, like, it's equal, and white's a little better, but it should be a draw. Okay. And the engine actually doesn't like that white took this pawn and gave up his e-pawn. Yeah, all right. Rook f1, very reasonable. And if you play knight c4 and start hunting for pawns, you're going to get in trouble on f7 and e6. You need your knight here to defend. Okay. Another idea is he wants to take the bishop, king takes, bishop f5 check, skewering the king and rook. So Karyakin's got some ideas. The best move is bishop d7, stopping all that stuff I just said. But Magnus played rook e8, confusing the audience. This game was played earlier today. Knight takes e6, you have to take with the king, and then king d4. So black has all these isolated pawns. White's rooks are excellent. White's bishop is pretty good. And here comes the white king. Okay, so white has a nice advantage. The commentators thought it was about equal. Okay, king d6. Stopping the white king from coming in and activating the rook. Very reasonable. Bishop d3, reasonable. Knight c6, good. King c3. Got to defend this pawn, so knight e5. King d4. And now the commentators were incorrectly claiming that Karyakin wanted to draw and that Magnus didn't do the draw. Karyakin wasn't going to play king d4 again. He's just repeating because you always repeat. That's the way you play chess, is you always repeat. So Magnus didn't repeat. He's not falling for that. Bishop f5 is a weird move. The best move is b3 because we stop the knight from coming to c4 and we stop a rook from coming to c4. We defend c4. And he played bishop f5, which is a weird move because of rook f6. So he's pinning his own bishop. Okay, he went back, realizing his mistake. King e3, which is weird. Okay, and this should be a draw. White's a little bit better, but it should be a draw. Okay, now Magnus made a bad move, the kind of move you just play because you have no time on your clock. Knight e5 attacking the rook. The rook went to b4, which it couldn't go to before. And then rook e7 is also not good. And now both players missed, rook b6 check, which gives white a big advantage. And Yasser was like, rook b6 check, roar, I'm mad. And instead he played king f4, which is not as good. And here, black should definitely play b5 and ensconce that rook. Make sure that rook can't do Vishwa nothing. Okay? But instead he played knight c6, rook b6, and here the commentators felt this rook was going to get trapped, so that black was better. Now again, just like you guys at home, the commentators have a psychological problem. Psychological problem is Magnus is always the highest rated player in the world. Magnus is always the world champion. Magnus never loses. So when something is tricky and they're not sure who it's good for, they just assume it's Magnus. Oh, it's good for Magnus. And then Magnus always wins, and they're right. But Magnus isn't playing well this tournament. He's not in good form. So when things are tricky, he's usually wrong this tournament. Not having a good tournament. So they were like, oh man, that rook's trapped and white's in a lot of trouble. No. White's got 2-1 and black has no counterplay. Black can't do anything. Okay. The engine wants to play a4 to cement the rook in some more, but he played g4. Okay, fine. And king c5 attacking the rook. Rook here. And now Yasser got really mad, and rightfully so. What he doesn't realize is this is already really bad for black. Because, man, this is a tough pawn. And he was furious at what Magnus did here. The engine says it's fine. He wanted Magnus to play d4 to trap the rook. Okay, but I mean, man, this is a pretty strong pawn over here. Okay, instead he played knight d4, forcing the white rook to go to the back rank and crush black. So he was like, that was dumb. Yeah. Rook e1, not quick enough. Yeah. And again, these games that Magnus is losing this tournament, they remind me of games that he wins. Like, white has a better king, white has a better minor piece, black has 3 isolated pawns, and white has 0. It's like Magnus is playing white. These are the games he always wins. So, tough town. Okay, and then, I mean, white was just winning because this passed pawn's too good. Yeah. And the truth hurts. Now here, they thought that Karyakin went crazy, but actually this was good technique. Because white's going to do this. And the way black stopped it was to play f5, which blocks the bishop. But this is hopeless. The knight can't do anything. My king's coming in here. If you push your pawn, your undefending h7's not blocked. So the engine says like plus 1,000 for white. And it wasn't too hard. He won pretty easily. And the end of the game was very nice. He played king c5 and then king d4, stopping the black king from coming in, and the knight's trapped. So we just play c4, king c3, and take the knight. And you'll notice this is the right-colored rook pawn. So there's no tricks. Yeah, so here he resigned. My engine says plus 153. God damn. Because the knight's trapped on b2. So the games that Magnus is losing, it looks like his opponents are the other color. It looks like the kind of game Magnus wins, but he's on the wrong side of it. He's getting worse king in the endgame, worse pawn structure, worse minor piece. He's doing it a lot. He's getting these bad positions, and it's just not like him. And he's not tricking his way out. One of the reasons is he's not used to it. Okay, I'll always have a bad position. If I have a bad position, I don't care. Magnus is like bad position. This is like once a year for me, but now it's every game. And then they put their foot on your throat because they're 2,800. Even though you may think Mamajarov's weak. You might think that. Mamajarov's been in last place the whole tournament. Okay, that guy's pretty good. He just won a FIDE Grand Prix tournament. He was second highest rated in the world a while ago. He was 2,800 FIDE a while ago. And that's the guy who's getting beat every game. So we're making fun of Magnus because Magnus never has a bad tournament. But how's Caruana doing? How's Mamedyarov doing? The answer is much worse. And you're like not talking about them because we got Magnus over here. But I'm sure Mamedyarov is very, very, very unhappy with his tournament considering his good form lately. He's like, hey, I'm pretty good now, and then he loses all his games. And then Caruana today had 3 draws and 6 losses. And we're not talking about him. We're talking about Magnus, who had 50% today. Magnus had 50%. And we're like, this is the worst event of his life. And then Caruana and Mamedyarov lose all of their games. We're not talking about them. Because we're used to Magnus winning every game. That's what you're used to. Truth hurts. So, man, it's tough being in your late 20s nowadays. Yeah. But, I mean, Magnus doesn't want the tournament to even continue because he's never had a tournament like this where he just is the punching bag. And occasionally, in a Rapid or a Blitz, Mamedyarov and Caruana get crushed. It happens. Sometimes they do well, sometimes they don't. For Magnus, it's never happened. He's like, what's going on here? I'm Magnus. And then Kasparov was being interviewed. He's like, man, you guys with your engines making fun of the super GMs. Rawr, I'm mad at you. That was funny. Yeah. That's right. Singfield Cup, who I got? I don't know, Magnus. Yeah. No, but I mean, Magnus is going to play better in the slow chess unless he's psychologically crushed the rest of his life, which I don't think is going to happen. I could tell you story after story, but you guys never heard of these people. Now, the most famous story of this ilk, but not like this, is Mikhail Gurevich. If you look at tournaments from 1986 to 1990, Mikhail Gurevich was killing it. And I remember he played in Israel in some round robin. Average rating was like 25, 40 FIDE. And this is 30 years ago, so that was pretty good then. And he got something like 10.5 out of 11 in a slow tournament. Okay, because he's way better than those guys. Way better. And at some point, he was the 3rd best player in the world for sure. Kasparov, Karpov, Mikhail Gurevich. For sure. Okay. Then they had the interzonal in Manila. I believe 1990. But again, it's 30 years ago, so. And there were 2 rounds to go. The tournament was like 1 million rounds. Now, let me tell you how strong the tournament was. Kamsky was like in last place, and there were like 60 people. And Kamsky's like in 59th. It's a strong tournament, okay? And the top like 8 players go to the candidates matches, and he's in clear first. And he's the highest rated player in the tournament, okay? So it's looking good. He loses in the last 2 rounds to Short and Anand. And he comes in like 9th place and doesn't make the candidates. And then that's the end of him. And that's why you haven't heard of him. So if you haven't heard of Mikhail Gurevich, if you haven't, that's why. If Mikhail Gurevich got half out of 2 or 1 out of 2, one of the games he lost, he was white in an exchange French. That was one of the games he lost. And that was the end of him. After that tournament, he couldn't play chess anymore. He played chess and he was nothing. He went to 10th in the world, 20th in the world, 50th in the world, 100th in the world, and then he's just like, now he's like 2,600 FIDE. Like he went from clearly the 3rd best player in the world to, and he was actually on Kasparov's team, World Championship team. Kasparov said, I want to work with you, you're pretty good. But that tournament and those last 2 rounds crushed him psychologically, and he was done. When Tiger Woods' wife beat him over the head with golf clubs, how did he do after that? The answer is fries. Oh, my back hurts, my arm hurts. No, his wife beat him up and left him, and then he lost every tournament, right? So something happens, and you're done. So that could happen to Magnus, but since it's Blitz and Rapid, Ish don't think so. No. I don't think, man, I had a bad tournament, I'm done. I don't think that's going to happen. And Ananda's come back from worse. Ananda's had a lot of bad tournaments. And then Anand, like, all of a sudden starts winning again. So, but it's happened where somebody's psychologically crushed forever, but I don't think that's going to happen to Magnus. Now, he is psychologically crushed. Don't expect a lot tomorrow. He's not happy. But I think once the slow tournament starts, he's going to be pretty happy with that. Magnus likes to have tons of time, play faster than his opponent, play solid, get his 3 wins and 6 draws. Yeah. Right, Karen? She says what? Yeah. Yeah. What if every tournament is bad? Well, so that's the average. Yeah. Variance in quality of contemporaries, a possible reason? No, I think, again, I've said this before, I think players in the 60s and 70s are better than they are now, as far as the top. So if you can imagine when Fischer was good, between 63 and 72, I mean, they had Geller and Bronstein and Botvinnik and Petrosian and Keres and Tall and Spassky and Larson. And I probably missed 3 or 4 guys. That was off the top of my head. Man, those are some good players, right? And at some point, when the candidates matches came around in 1971, Fischer beaten Taimanov 6-0, Fischer beaten Larson 6-0, and possibly the most impressive, he crushed Petrosian. Nobody crushed Petrosian. Rawr! $100 donation from Maprel. Is that like a fake account of Adam Wallace? Thank you, sir. I got 2 donations today, both 100. And then I had one guy, his donation was a negative number, so I got to send him money. Damn. Now, obviously, before 1900, those players sucked. All right, I understand. However, Morphy's record lifetime against Adolf Anderssen was plus $1 million. And Adolf Anderssen's record lifetime against Steinitz was plus. So Morphy was good. I don't care if he beat up on weakies. When he played good players, he also beat up on them. When he played the best players in France, he gave them a simul. Okay, Morphy was good. The other players, maybe not. Morphy was good. Okay, there's always good players. There's good players somewhere. Now, the players today, obviously they're good because players are always good, but you see how bad they are when they play rapid and blitz. They're hanging everything. Hang a rook, hang a queen, hang a knight. They're hanging everything. Now, today, I saw after the fact, so I'm going to try to find it. I think it was Ding. No, I think it was you. I think it was you, Young E. So let me go find that game. Pretty sure that's what it was. Yeah, I found it immediately. You guys tell me players are better today than they were 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago. I'll show you who's better. Roar! This is a game played today, about 7 hours ago, between Ding Liren, who's number 3 or 4 in the world, and Dominguez, who's number 11 in the world. Okay, these are the players that you claim are better. Rawr, I'm mad. Hey, can somebody else donate $100? I like that. All right, now we're going to confuse Karen. You ready to be confused?
Yeah.
Yeah, get over here. Yeah. Karen will say she's never made a blunder like this in her life. What? What's happening? Everything's moving?
No, just get some misses in the way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do it.
All right. Now, in this position, obviously, move over a lot. Obviously, White's threatening Rook takes G7 check, right? And also, probably White's winning. This says White's up 1.4. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's pretty good, right?
Yeah.
All right. Now, watch the move Black played. Okay. Are you ready? Mm-hmm. I don't think you're ready. You ready?
Yeah.
These are the guys who are the players now are better than before, right? Now, let me also point out before you make fun of Dominguez. Are you ready? You don't know this. Dominguez was the world blitz champion. Ahead of everybody. Ahead of Carlson, everybody. He won a tournament that was World Blitz Championship 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. So he's a good blitz player.
Yeah.
And in slow chess, he's number 10 in the world. And his FIDE rating is higher than Nakamura's, and he was higher than So 2 months ago. So this guy's pretty good, according to them. Players are better now, right?
Yeah.
Now Dominguez played this move. And then Dingler in said, thank you. That was nice of you. That's the kind of rook sacrifice you don't see every day, hanging your rook.
Well, I mean, don't you see it more in Blitz or no?
He played rook a7 and the queen was next to it. It wasn't like, oh no, the queen on a1 took on g7. It was a really long move.
Yeah.
That was right next to it.
Yeah. Those are the kind of moves I make.
What? Rook a7?
So normal.
What was the time on his clock? How you playing rook a7? What? Are you kidding me? Yeah. I'm comparing everything. I can only compare the games that I have. Did he? Yeah, if Morphy did give simul's against the top players in France and beat them. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. But rook a7. What?
I can't see the chat.
What if you're Dingler in? What do you think about when a guy plays rook a7? Now, hold on. I'm not done. You guys are like, well, Dominguez isn't so good and I have a funny voice. Show me some better player like Aronian. All right. This also happened today. I have to say some more. All right. What was it? I didn't even know the result of the game. It was a draw. Oh my God. I didn't know the result of this game. Yeah. I've never been so mad. All right. This better be the right game or I'm going to be looking bad over here, right? Already looking pretty bad. All right. That blunder was nothing. That was nothing. That was the appetizer. You ready for the main course?
Sure.
All right. These guys are like, don't you understand how good Aronian is and Dingler in? All right. We'll get to the position at hand. Position at hand. Oh, this could be the wrong game. Oh, this is definitely the wrong game. Wait, is this the wrong game? No, this is the right game. I'm right. Unless I'm not. Oh, no, I'm definitely wrong. No, this is the wrong game. No, these players are great. My apologies. That game was actually pretty good. I watched that game live. That wasn't bad. We got to find a game Aronian was white, and I can never look at the chat because they'll tell me. Because the people in the chat are pretty smart. They're not really. All right. Yeah, talk to them while I'm looking.
Okay. Is the main course vegan?
Yes.
And then Capablanco says Dominguez is a beast.
Hey, it is Aronian U, but it's a different game. What? How could it be a different game? I just looked at Aronian U. All right. And this game was a draw too? Is this the same game? Now I'm getting mad. No, this is the game in question. That game was a draw. God, I'm so mad. All right, you'll see why I'm mad. All right, I've never been so mad. Get your donations ready when you see this. Donate to the Aronian Yu Yangi Defense Fund. All right, I don't care about the game. I just want to get to the important point in the game.
That's right, Danny Crane.
All right, so this game was played earlier today. You paying attention? Mm-hmm. All right. All right. Okay, are you ready? I don't think you're ready.
I think so.
Okay, this is today.
Long day.
Now, black is up +3, so that's a good start. Aronian makes the worst move on the board. Whatever move you suggest is better than his move. It doesn't matter what you suggest. Doesn't matter. Play the worst move you could play, and his move is worse than yours. See, he's 2,800. You can't find moves this bad. Let me give you an example. Can I give you an example? Let me give you an example.
Queen.
If you said queen here, that's better than what he did. Okay, and he drew.
Okay. Well, what did he do?
Okay, he played bishop c1, always retreat. Okay, black to play and win. See, you guys in the chat see it. He did not lose.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to see it.
Yeah, you're going to see it. Everybody in the chat's saying the answer. So, yeah. Marcus Brewer subscribed. Whose turn is it?
Well, it's black's turn.
Correct.
But, yeah, I don't know.
This is Puzzle Rush. This is the first puzzle. This is the first one. You solve this in 1 second.
I see it. Queen D1.
Yeah. Yeah, Black
But
didn't.
I wouldn't
so
expect that.
so Black thought 5 seconds here because they saw the video, and he
Yeah.
didn't do that. And he traded queens.
Oh no.
Okay, and now the engine says Black's completely winning, and he didn't win. So what's funny was I showed them an example, and so the guy hangs his rook and resigns. This guy hangs mate and 1 and draws. These are the best players in the world. Now, when they have 3 hours on their clock and they play 25 moves of theory and they agree to a draw before the game and they take no risks, then they play okay. But when they don't play 25 moves of theory and they have 1 minute on their clock, do you want to bet on players today, or do you want to bet on Petrosian, Spassky, Fischer, Botvinnik, etc., mainly, etc.? Tall would tear these guys to pieces, right? And you saw how Tall looked. Man, he looks like he got torn to pieces every day.
Yeah.
Now, as you all know, none of them know it. In 1988, now remember, Tall was world champion like in 1961. I'm close. So 1988, and he died in like the early 90s. So at 88, probably not so good, right? You know what I mean? They had the World Blitz Championship. It was a knockout tournament. And there were 64 players, and they knocked out Karpov, Kasparov, and those are the weak players. Okay, who won? Tall.
Really?
Yeah. And Tall won the finals with a perfect score. He won his last match 4-0. Right.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
Right. And that's when he was like dying. Okay. And 100 years old. Well, they died in his 50s. Okay. Players today, when they have a minute on their clock, they hang mate and 1, their opponent doesn't see it. That's who we got today. Do you know how Fischer and Tall would have done against these guys? Ow. Now, let's take Anand, for example. He played in the tournament like a couple weeks ago. He's 300 years old, right? Clear second. MVL was first, Anand second, then now the Super GMs, right? What if Anand was 25? The players now no good. Now, if the players have 3 hours and play 100 moves of theory, and they agree to a draw before the game, then the engine says they played good. But when they have no time on their clock, and it's not a position they already knew, then they hang mate and 1, their opponent doesn't see it.
Do you know, but that's so, we sound old, or you sound old.
I'm the oldest.
Waxing nostalgic for
Yeah, well, they're telling me that whenever I tell them Magnus is no good, they're like, no, Magnus's opponents are better than other people's opponents, therefore he's good. So here's my argument. And by the way, some guy on Twitter, his name is some guy,
Yeah.
he said, players who were 2,500 FIDE and over. Oh, no, that's not what he said. He said 2,500 games of Kasparov. Anyway, the point was Kasparov's win percentage in these Super GM events is 1,000,000 times higher than Magnus's. And his drop percentage is much lower.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when Kasparov won these tournaments, it was scary. 12 out of 14, 11 out of 13, 9 out of 10. When Magnus wins, he wins by half a point. And he's a little better than everybody else. Kasparov was scary.
Yeah.
Kasparov played a match with Miles. You heard of Tony Miles?
Yeah.
What was the score of the match? 6-game match.
I don't know. I just know he was the one that
Fi-
laid on that stretcher.
Right, 5.5 half.
Okay.
Now, here's something Kasparov did that Carlsen never did and will never do. You ready?
Yeah.
You know what a simultaneous is?
Yeah.
Kasparov gave simul's against Olympic teams. He's like, I'll play Germany, and then I'll play England, and he won every match.
Wow.
So he played the 6 best players in the country at the same time and beat them all. Yeah, Kasparov, Carlsen loses to Dominguez. I mean, not really, but it was still funny. Man, Kasparov was good. And then Fischer won 20 games in a row against GMs, right? And Carlsen lost 20 games in a row this tournament.
Yeah. That's
No,
what
not
you
really,
said.
but sort of.
Well, you were talking earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Boo. Blah, 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 blah. That's funny. You have to deny it, but it was still good. All right. So remember, Carlsen, no good. Rawr. No, I mean, he's a world champion. He's good, but they say he's the greatest player ever, which is just silly. Obviously, Kasparov, Morphy, and Fischer, head and shoulders above. Right? Now, some guy on Twitter posted, Carlsen played a year without losing and then moved his arms like Wes. And then Agad Medor, a guy I never heard of, right? He posted, I'm not trying to troll here, but then he posted a meme, and it was Capablanca saying, hold my beer. So, you know, understand?
Yeah. What?
What did Capablanca do?
Oh.
He didn't lose a game for 7 years.
Oh, yeah. You were
Yeah.
talking about that earlier.
So he's like, oh, Magnus to lose for 1 year. Ooh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, Holden hasn't lost a game in years. Like, my mom doesn't lose? What's your point? Yeah. Terrible. All right. So remember all of that. I'm right and everybody's wrong. It's funny, when Magnus has the worst tournament ever, they're like, no, he's great. You're wrong. Magnus is like, isn't this tournament over already? God damn. He's right, too. You know who else is good? Karpov. Karpov was good. Yeah. What did Karpov do last year? Let's see if anybody in the chat knows. What did Karpov do last year? Go.
Let's see if I
He did something in chess. Retire, die, danced. No, he didn't do dance, that's for sure. He might have retired. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, World of MOZ gets it.
What did he do?
He beat Ifan in a rapid match.
Oh, that's.
And he was 130 years old. Did you know that? He was 130? Yeah. Yeah, we're going to see how Magnus does when he's 60. Well, how old he carry the one? So Karpov is 68 now, so he was 67. And he fought in a rapid match. God damn. Yeah. Yeah, Karpov still got it. I mean, doesn't have it like he did. But yeah.
So who would win if he played Kasparov?
Now, they'd both resign. I mean, Kasparov would be the favorite, but I wouldn't be surprised because he's playing so bad. Terrible. All right, we'll look at one more game, and then she'll take over the stream.
No.
Karyakin beat Mamedyarov. Yeah, I don't care about that. Caruana lost to MVL. What else is new? Rapport beat Mamedyarov, obviously. Ding drew Karyakin. Spencer would say obviously. Hey, should we beat up on Magnus some more? What do you think? Yeah, you want to see Magnus get checkmated in 10 moves?
Okay.
You know why? He's the greatest player ever. By the way, you know who he lost to this game? The guy who's the wild card. They're like, all right, you can play. He's like, they found him on the streets walking around. And they're like, yeah, you can play. And he's like, I don't know how to play chess. And they're like, don't worry, we got Magnus here. And he's like, all right. Man, Yu Yang-Yi's getting a lot of play this tournament. So Yu Yang-Yi was invited to the tournament because he's pretty good. He's not part of the Grand Chess Tour, but they have like wild cards.
Yeah.
They're like, you're from China, we'll pay your airfare and hotel. They could have invited like some guy down the block like Ray Robson. Man, Ray Robson's good unless he plays at this tournament. It's not good. Okay, I didn't see this game. I saw the final position, and I was like, God damn. Okay, so Yu Yang-Yi's white and a Sicilian. Bishop d7. I thought about playing that move. I've almost played that move. I played knight c6. Okay, this game was played like 6 hours ago. And they transpose into a dragon. Roar! Okay, now Magnus played a move you wouldn't think of, but Ginger GM would approve.
I guess it has to be an H move.
H5. Is that what you would play?
No.
No. Okay. Then never play F3. Always play King B1. All right. By the way, this is very similar to my video that I made last week, the Pragnananta Anand game. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Except Anand didn't play H5. Okay. This also looks like the tall game that he won in the Simul. The famous game where he sacks all his pieces. You guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember it.
All right. All right. This guy's, I was going to ban him, but I'll time him out.
Wait, what did he say?
He said, Magnus is better than Fischer based on computer analysis. You have no argument. Man,
Oh,
I mean, how could somebody be that dumb? How's it possible?
That was pretty mild.
But how is it possible? Right? Did you go to dumb school and like you graduate top of your class? And then he went to the Village Idiots Convention and he was the keynote speaker? Is that what happened? All right. That was like 2 jokes. Okay. Now rook HE1. Castles. Put it in H. Okay. Obviously white's winning because black's game makes no sense. Why is Magnus playing rook C8 and knight E5 and not playing knight C4? Exactly. All right. G4. Rawr. B5. Knight D5. Finally, he plays knight C4. Finally. BC4. Takes. Rawr. Look at, and you hear the computer make a noise because it likes white.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the computer version of, I can't say it on the air. Okay, C3. See, if it's a human, it's a hard something else, but it's a computer, so it's a hard drive. All right, good. All right, Queen G2. Look at that attack. God damn. Right? See that attack? Right? You see Magnus's attack? No, you don't see that. Okay, so he plays King H7 defending. That defense didn't work. B3 blocking it up. Now, this is the usual way you mate somebody, right? But if you ever play Queen A3, I play Bishop C1, and you got nothing, right? So what does the engine say? This position, who's winning? Exactly. Okay, Queen A5. Now, Magnus plays the craziest move ever. Rook C4, confusing the audience. He's hoping to open up the B file.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, you take it? I get the B file. Okay, and then that was ignored. E5. He's like, yeah, whatever. I ignore you. Takes. Roar! Man, the truth hurts. What's the score?
And +10.
For white, right?
Yeah.
So black's the greatest player who ever lived? No.
Well, not in this game.
Yeah, that's for sure. Here, Rar threatening Queen G6 mate. Knight F3, always retreat. You can't take the knight because you get mated. And then your bishop's hanging and pinned. So you play bishop F5, which lets the rook go to the back rank. Remember how the bishop couldn't go to the back rank last move? Yeah, so now Queen H6 check. See the battery? Yeah. Now if you go here, you get super mated. Watch this mate. Magnus resigned. If Magnus was a gentleman, he would have allowed the mate to give you guys some, like they would have been like, wow, that was great, right? But he robbed them of this excitement. Okay? After King G8, Rook D8 check, King F7, white mates in one move. And he robbed you of that by resigning. Terrible.
Let's see.
Yeah, Magnus is a good player. Bits.
Yeah.
Carlos Torre is the coolest name? I mean, it's all right.
Oh, I see.
400 elo. Magnus is like 600 elo above me. If he was 400, I wouldn't say nothing. But 600, then.
Oh, that's not a mate. Let's see. King can go
Where can the king go?
E6.
So check him where he can't go to E6. See? There's only one way to do it. Unless there's more than one way. No, there's only one check where he can't go to E6. All other legal checks, he can go to
I
E6.
see. Knight G5.
See, if I was black, I'd let the guy do that 'cause that's pretty cool. That's a cool mate, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Instead, he resigns. Terrible. Yeah. So Queen H6 resigns. Man, that's the beatdown. That game happened several hours ago. Magnus isn't sleeping well tonight. Yeah.
Well, he's kind of.
Yep. And then MVL beat you in 1,000 moves. Boo. Then there was a 1,000 move draw.
Well,
All right. This is the last game I'm going to show on the stream. I'm not going to show the whole game. I'm just going to show you who your world champion is.
Metro Perplex says, I think there's some mild autism type thing going on.
Mild.
I don't know if they're talking about, who they're talking about.
All right. So this is Magnus Dominguez, right? This is where you know he's thrown in the towel.
All right.
And I texted you this. What did he play?
This is the one.
I texted you.
Cute. Yeah, it was the queen move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Dominguez didn't see this, so he got mated. No. Yeah, what is he, me? This is like all my 1 minute games on the stream. Terrible. All right, and then Magnus was better the whole game, but they drew. And then they got this drawn position. Pretty boring. That was the next position in the game. Man, this is your Magnus. Damn. Harsh. A stream of my best games, but that stream would be very short. Right, I said Magnus is 600 points higher than me. Aren't you guys paying attention? I am unsubbing. What? There's only one. He's not a sub. How's he unsubbing?
Who's unsubbing?
How's he unsubbing if he's not a sub? How did he do it?
Is that the one that you timed out?
I don't know. I could time him out again for saying he's unsubbing. Let's see. Where is he?
He's probably
Yeah.
joking.
All right.
No.
Time out.
What?
Yeah.
Was that the same person?
I don't know.
No.
I just thought it was funny to time him out. Yeah. There was that Rucksack, Naka style. This tends to lead to a draw. Boo! He deleted the unsub message. What? I'll be taking someone else's sub as payment. All right. We need somebody to donate like 50 subs so all you non-subs can stop watching commercials. I'll wait. Do the MVL Carlson endgame. What? Didn't Carlson beat MVL every game this day? Yeah. What's my favorite fast food? Food goes in here.
Feingold sucks at chess.
Output Coupler donated 500 subs. I mean 5. Yay. Come on, you guys got to thank Output Coupler for making you subs so you can see me rant and rave every day. Now, that was a lot of ranting today, so I'm not streaming tomorrow or Thursday. That's too much ranting. Too much. No, Magnus is the world champion. He's the best player in the world. But saying he's the greatest player of all time is ridiculous. Frankly, ridiculous. You guys are like, you're hating on Magnus because I don't agree he's the greatest player who ever lived. You guys are hating on Fischer, Kasparov, and Morphy. Stop doing that. Stop hating on them. All right, now I'm going to show you one Morphy game after another. Rawr. No, I'm just kidding. Karen versus Carlson, who you got? I got Karen right here.
No.
I got Karen on a cloudy day. If I was with Magnus, then I would be... Oh, wait, is this a family stream? Yeah, exactly. You respect my opinion. Yeah, see, when I'm on this stream and they defend F7, I take it anyway. See, I don't care about that. Magnus is like, oh, retreat, scared. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's very insulting to play Queen H5 against Dominguez, but he's a gentleman. If he wasn't, he could, Ow.
I was surprised he played that.
I mean, he's given up. He's like, is this tournament over yet? When they play the slow tournament, when we're there, he'll just play normally and he'll win. Yeah. Although, Magnus usually doesn't win the Singfield Cup, does he? We were there. Well, you weren't. I was there when Fabi won every game. I was doing commentary. Fabi was 7-0. And now Fabi's 0-7. All right, let's ask Karen a trivia question because she pays attention when I stream. Ready? Today was 9 games of Blitz because it was. How did Fabi do in those 9 games?
Let's see. He won 2. He had 2 points.
So 2 wins, 7 losses?
Yeah.
Close. He won 0. And he had 3 draws.
Okay.
That's the second highest rated slow player in the world. He'd lose every game.
I knew he was at the bottom.
Horrible. Well, you thought he was at the bottom. Mamajarov was at the bottom.
Well, I knew Mamajarov was at the
Mamajarov's 2,800. Damn, you guys suck. Why does Naroditsky get tournaments like Naka? Does he mean why doesn't? Wait, what does he mean? What? Man, the truth hurts. Yeah, Lasker's pretty good. All right, thanks for watching my stream. My next stream is at 9 on Friday, and I guess if Magnus goes 9-0 tomorrow, he'll come in 3rd? I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, he'll come in 3rd if he goes 9-0. That'd be a good day. You think he'll go 9-0? No. Horrible. Man. No, he doesn't want to play anymore. Well, so he might be silly tomorrow. He might be like Queen H5, and
maybe he's watching your stream right now.
Probably. Also, let's see if you guys were paying attention. Today in the Blitz, this is the game Aroni and Magnus. Do you guys remember what Magnus did in this position? It's a very strange move. I don't know if you guys remember. Then Magnus got a winning position, then he messed it up and drew. 9-0. Now Magnus just having a bad tournament. Yeah, Storm remembers. You wouldn't say Queen A4. You get the wrong turns. What? Yeah, G6. Is that what you would play? If you did, I'd yell at you. Look at this. Computer says White's winning already. Yeah, tough.
I wouldn't not play it.
What? Yeah, you wouldn't play. You wouldn't play there. Come on. Boo.
What do you mean I wouldn't play there?
You wouldn't. Boo. E6, G6. What, are you playing checkers over here in reverse? Damn. Terrible.
I might play it.
All right. Because Magnus played it?
No, because I don't know what I'm doing.
Oh, okay.
Try something.
That's good. I like that. All right. Well, no, Magnus isn't going to play the Bong Cloud. Sorry. Who's the best player of all time? I mean, it's probably Fischer and Morphy some way, and then Kasparov. And then that's it. Then there's nobody else is any good. Kramnik's pretty good. Kramnik was good. It's funny how Kramnik went crazy. Kramnik used to be good, then he went crazy. He's like, I'm winning when he's like lost. Then he retired. Let's see. Memphis Polly just subscribed. Do you know his brother Cerebral? That's right. Very good. No, you don't know now. Capablanca wasn't good. Capablanca is my dad's favorite player ever. Ivanchuk? What about Ivanchuk? Come on. Ivanchuk's better than Karen, but not much. Yeah. Alexander Jokin. Well, I'm going to raid Rosen. Damn.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. And then what's his name? I am Rosen. Damn. I remember when I was 6. All right.
Make Keith mad.
Yeah. Thanks for watching the stream. See you guys the same time on Friday.
Mad.
Bye.
Bye.